Happy Monday, everybody. We are just trying to figure out how to click all the buttons over here so that we can go live on LinkedIn with our Money Mondays. So let's see. We are working over here on LinkedIn. We're trying to get this going. There is that go live button that I'm looking for. I wish this were easier and we could just and make this super easy, but it never is. So, okay, we are live now on LinkedIn. Hello and welcome to Money Mondays here with me. Every single Monday, we're going to be going live on LinkedIn to talk about some sort of fashion financial topic. If you have a topic that you'd like for me to cover or you'd like to learn about something, please let me know. I would love to cover it for you. Today, we are going to be sharing a screen because I want to walk you through what it takes to maintain and track all of your line planning tools that you need throughout your job when you're working at your fashion brand. So let's see, I should be able to see comments over here in LinkedIn. If you're interested in making a comment or asking a question and you're joining me here, please feel free to do so. We are going to figure out how to share a screen over here. We're looking for a window. This one. Okay. So, welcome to my world. This is definitely something that I built when I was a senior product manager in my last corporate role at Specialized. This is something that kind of started to Frankenstein together when I was learning how to do development both at Miller International and at Pearl Izumi. So I was getting pretty good at trying to figure out how to add all of the different formulas that you need to add to put in different information in here so that we could do some line planning work. And so what I want to do today, I'm going to see if I can just kind of walk you through this spreadsheet, and then maybe we can do a little bit of playing in here so that you can kind of see what's going on. So for example, let's see if I can get my mouse over to my other screen. Okay. So when we're talking through this spreadsheet, the first couple of things that we're going to notice are in column A, we're going to be talking about the status of the style. So this is important to note so that if you are working online planning with your entire team, you are actually able to indicate on there whether this is a carryover style, so something that's been in the line before, or something that's brand new, something that you're designing brand new. And there are a couple different ways that you can indicate carryover on here. You could say carry in line, which is usually what we say when we're carrying over a style and a colorway. So let's say we had black tights last year and we want to carry them in line just exactly as they were. CIL is kind of an abbreviation that we use there. And then CNC is the carryover new colorway. Sorry, CNC is carryover new colorway. So that's maybe that same type, but we're adding a new color to it. Maybe it's a new seasonal color, or maybe we want to add like a brand color to the offering. And so this is then coming in where in column A, we're going to put in every single time our new, is it new or is it carryover? So then as we get into style name, for here, I'm just going to keep this super simple, which is something that we definitely teach in the Business of Apparel online course. When you're just starting out, you probably would just want to put some generic information in here so that you're not blowing yourself up in the way of figuring out your naming methods. Now, naming methods can be very, very detailed work. A lot of people don't talk about how complicated naming in the fashion and apparel industry can be. And so what you want to do is probably start with something super simple, something descriptive. Like, for example, we're talking, this is a tech tee and this is a legging. But down the line, you're really going to want to figure out what like a detailed descriptive name is of these garments, because number one, you want your customer to be able to read the name and kind of know what it is. They know what they're shopping for. And number two, you don't want to peg yourself into like, this is the only tech tee that I can now have because it's the name that I gave it. So it's not my crew neck tech tee or my V-neck tech tee. now I just have this tech tee. So when I go to create my next version of a tech tee, again, maybe with a different neckline or something like that, I've pigeonholed myself into, well, now what do I name it? Because my old style was just called tech tee. So if you're interested in learning a lot more about naming, we have a lot of information about that as well in our online course, and how you can kind of set some standards around that so that you're not pigeonholing yourself. Next, you want to go ahead and put in your colorway name. I'm just going to be super generic here. Black tends to be the number one colorway that we are actually seeing sell through a lot of different brands. That's kind of traditional. If you are the type of brand who never wants to carry black colorways, then yours is probably a different neutral that stands specifically for your brand. Base size, a lot of us are going to use whatever the middle of our grade is. And so for those of us using very traditional sizing, maybe we're just starting out our brand, we're not ready to really expand into a different like extended sizing range. What we will probably put in here is mediums. Now, there are some amazing brands out there who have been able to expand and offer extended sizing to the point where their middle of their size range is actually an extra large or a 2XL. And so that ends up being their medium. Now, there are a couple different ways that you can look at that too when you're doing development. Some factories and some teams really prefer to do like a traditional size range. So extra small through extra large being size range 1, 2X through 6X being size range 2. And so instead of getting like a 2XL or an XL as your medium and then trying to grade out all the way from there, if you're offering all of those sizes, what you would actually do is get a medium and you would get a 4XL as 2 different base sizes so that you're properly figuring out the grade a little bit better along the whole range. So that's a little tidbit for you there today. Launch date, when we're filling out this spreadsheet here, what you want to do is fill out the day that you plan to like send this out to your customers. This is the day that it would be on your website or the day that it will go live in the shop. Like if you're working with a wholesale account, this is the day that it will actually be available to be hung on racks and your wholesaler will be able to sell it. So we're just going to put 2/15/25 in here. We're going to say this is maybe a spring style. And your end of life date is also just as important as your launch date. Now, because these are kind of black basics that maybe are coming into our brand that we're building out right here, this is maybe a style that we plan to carry for 3 or 5 years. And so our end of life date might actually be 1/15/2030 for these styles because we know that we're going to carry them in our line for a really long time. We want our customers to be able to come back and get them from us over and over again. Thank you for joining me live. For those of you who are here, if you have any questions as we're going along, please put them in the comments. I am doing my best to monitor all of this as I go. SKU number is an internal number that you are going to then assign that's going to go on your hang tag, and it's probably also going to go on a sticker that's going to get stuck to your poly bag so that when those items arrive in your warehouse or arrive to your wholesaler, they know that they got the right item. Now, your SKU number is going to indicate a style, a size, and a color. And so that's going to help indicate a little bit of information about that style. It is different from your UPC code. So a SKU number is an internal style number. Your UPC code is something that you can research, and it will usually indicate the barcode that then goes on your sticker. And so your SKU number might be a smart number. It might indicate that if it starts with a 1, it's a men's style. If it starts with a 2, it's a women's style. If it ends in a 1, that means it's black. If it ends in a 2, that means it's white. And so these would be unique numbers that you would assign based on however you've set that up in your company. And then your style number might be something like spring 25001 and spring, let's say it's 24001 because this is a carryover style. So let's say we designed this for spring 24 and it was the first style in our line. So those are like internal style numbers so that when you're working with your manufacturer or your factory, you actually have some sort of numerical indicator to help them realize what style you're talking about when you're sending tech packs, when you're sending comments, when you're sending emails. And a lot of times that helps because if we're working with a factory or a manufacturer and English isn't their first language, we want to make sure that we have some numbers that we can refer to because numbers are a universal language. Country of origin is going to help us then determine exactly our duty rate. So I've got a few different examples in here. Usually when I'm helping like clients fill this out and we're trying to understand duty rates, if you're producing right now out of Vietnam, for example, a t-shirt Duty rate would be 32%. That's what it is to import it into the United States. If you're working out of China right now, your duty rate, because we're adding 9% tariffs on top of the traditional 32% to import from China, it actually ends up being 41%. So if you're manufacturing man-made fiber technical t-shirts out of China right now, because of the tariffs that are also being added to the duty rates, it's a 41%. So whatever your cost is from your factory, you also then are going to pay 41% of that to import it into the United States. However, if you want to manufacture in the United States or in Mexico or El Salvador or Guatemala, or there's a bunch, or Canada, there are a whole bunch of different regions where we can get NAFTA and CAFTA 0% duty fees. So that can be a huge indicator to you to maybe where you want to be manufacturing. If you don't want to be paying duty fees, be looking at NAFTA and CAFTA. Those are some great resources for you to get 0%. And then of course, made in USA is also 0%. We don't pay any duty fees to actually bring goods into our own country. So there is a huge advantage there. Again, in column J here, you would fill out your own vendor name. So whatever it was, again, that's just a tracking thing or a sorting thing, so that if you needed to go through your line plan and you needed to be able to sort by manufacturer, you could actually do that in here. And then you would be able to see like, oh, everything is coming from factory number 1 is sorted here, and I can see all the information. Everything from factory number 2, I can sort and see all their information. So for wholesale, this is actually a formula that I have in this spreadsheet. So what we like to do is figure out what kind of retail price would be. So if we were selling this direct to our customer off of our own website, what would we be selling it for? So let's say we're going to sell this t-shirt. This is a very expensive t-shirt. We're going to sell it for $100. The legging is a very expensive legging. We're going to sell it for $200. And that automatically calculates for me here then $50 wholesale and $100 wholesale. And the reason for this being, when you sell, let's say you want to sell this t-shirt and legging to Macy's, and then you want Macy's to sell it to your customers. What you want to be doing here is basically offering them a 50% margin while you're trying to also take 50% margin into your own brand. So you would take whatever price you expect them to sell it for. So they're going to put it on their shelf for $100 per t-shirt, $200 per legging. You will sell it to them, so they will pay you $50, and then they'll go sell it for $100. That's a 50% margin percentage for both of you, and that's usually what's ideal. So that's why we like to divide your retail price by 2. These next columns on this spreadsheet are actually helping you figure out your target cost. So what we're really looking for here is column R. Right now, we've got a couple of different percentages in here because our target cost is 0. We're getting a 100% margin. Obviously, that would never happen. But what we're looking to hit right now is a target margin that's going to be healthy for us. And so right now, this target margin is actually calculating off of our wholesale. So we're balancing this based, so we want to see everything in column R be 50% or higher. If you're around 45%, you're still kind of in a green zone, but maybe you want to do some negotiating. But when you're looking at target costs, like this is what I want to send to my factory and ask them to give back to me in the way of a cost, or this is how I want to build this style, and this is the target cost that I want to assign to my team when they go designing. You want those percentages to be as high as possible so that you can basically leave some room in there for negotiation. So let's say we want this $100 t-shirt to cost, oh no, let's not do that. We want it to cost $15 from our, so we're just going to play with these numbers here until we get margins that we like. So I'm happy with that margin, a 56% margin. Let's take it to 13, maybe a little bit more realistic. So what this is doing in these columns is it's calculating your target, or sorry, it's calculating this target cost times the duty rate percentage that it's going to require to import it from that country that we already nominated. And then in column N, it is kind of spitting out to you. So this is the dollar amount that I'm going to pay on duties for this style. Now, if it was a 0% duty rate, there would be $0 in this column. Next, it's going to calculate out for me an estimate for shipping. And right now we're overestimating shipping because shipping has really been in flux. We've been dividing our FOB cost by 2 to get a really high estimate on shipping. And this would probably allow you to air ship a garment in expedited fashion and still be able to afford it if you are tracking basically worst case scenario on shipping. Now, if you at your brand know exactly what it costs to ship a unit or to ship a garment and you're able to put that in here instead, I 100% recommend that you overwrite this cell and put in your actual shipping costs so that you can be calculating this a lot more accurately. So then what it's going to do is add up all of these things. So we're going to add up our target, our duty rate. We're going to add up our shipping. We're going to add up the cost that it's going to come from the factory at. That ends up being our total final cost, or our landed cost. We could call it that. And that's going to give us a margin percentage of 52.68%. I think I'm seeing here. Yeah. So we can do this with all of our different styles, and we want to make sure that we're getting something healthy in the way of a target margin. Now, these next set of columns are identical. They're exactly the same, except what you want to do then is compare what you sent to your factory as a target versus what they're actually giving back to you. So let's say we said, hey, factory, we need this t-shirt to be $13 coming from you because we're going to have to pay $4.16 for duty and we're going to have to pay $6.50 for shipping. And that's what we want to be able to afford. But the factory comes back and says, well, because of the fabric that you chose and because of the 10 pockets that you put on it and because it's really complicated to sew, it's actually going to cost us $15 to make. And so what you can do right here is a really fast comparison of what did the factory actually give you versus what is your target. And this will help you in your negotiations with them to know, what do I need to get out of this garment? I need to basically get $2 out of this garment to hit my target. And those are the kinds of things that are going to be really crucial for you to understand as you're doing your line planning. So let's say that one was $15, but last year we already negotiated our legging price, and so it's at $25. So now we're able to do a comparison across these different sections of this spreadsheet to be able to see targets versus actuals. Okay, we're going to move into the latter half of this spreadsheet real quick. And then I'm just going to talk a little bit. Actually, you know what? Let's leave this for next week. Let's talk about forecasting next week. I think that would be a really great topic because forecasting is super, super complicated. And it's something that I think we could probably do an entire live session on. So next week, here's my promise to you. Next week, we will talk about forecasting. I will show you the latter half of this spreadsheet. So what we're essentially going to do is figure out how many units are we going to buy and how does that roll up into revenue so that we're hitting our revenue goals every single year. And so that is the latter half of this spreadsheet. Now, if you don't have a spreadsheet like this, obviously I'm showing it to you so you can put in all of your own effort and you can figure out how to build it on your own. You can put in all the different formulas. You can totally build this in Excel or build this in Google Sheets, however you want. If you want to kind of take a shortcut and you don't want to build it yourself and you want to get it from us, you can go to thebusinessofapparel.com. In our shop there, we have this is called our master line planning spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is pre-made for you. It's exactly what I'm showing you right here. You can go in and all the formulas are already done for you. And then you can just have that work done for you and your brand. And then you can just follow along with it. The beauty of this is that when I was a senior product manager, I had so many copies of these. I had one for spring initial line planning, and then I had one for spring final design review, and then I had one for fall initial line planning, and then I had one for fall final design review. I had so many copies of this spreadsheet to make sure that I was always tracking, always getting into the next round. I always had a copy of like this snapshot in time. So initial line review, line planning looks like this. I can go back to it, but I make a copy. And so what's beautiful about this spreadsheet is that you can make copies of it. You can customize it. Obviously, you can take all of my branding off. You can put your own colors in, all of that. And you can use this forever and ever and ever. And it's a tool that allows you to see most, if not all of your numbers that are going to be crucial for you and your brand in one place at all times. So that is one tool that is really, really important. If you are a product manager and you don't have some sort of spreadsheet like that, I recommend that you get yourself one so that you can learn your numbers, have it at a glance, and then have that spreadsheet with you almost at all times. When I was a senior product manager, I had that spreadsheet up in a window on my computer every single day. And so when I would go to a meeting and someone would be asking me, like, what are the margin percentages that we have on these different styles? Number one, I already had it up on my screen so I could look at it real fast. But number two, I was starting to memorize those numbers so that if someone asked me, I knew off the top of my head a lot of times, like either what something cost or what my margins were or what my rolled up revenue was going to be for that season. And I could speak to it on a business level. Those are the types of things that get you raises and promotions. I will tell you, it was my knowledge and my organization and being able to have all this information at my fingertips at all times that helped me grow in my career and get to the position that I was in. So just some helpful tips and hints for you today. Again, we will do the latter half of this spreadsheet next week. We'll talk all about forecasting and how important that can be for your brand. If you have any questions that you have specifically for me and you want me to touch on in our next upcoming Mondays Live, please let me know. I am very happy to cover them. And that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for the few of you who joined me. And we will have this replay up soon. So if you didn't get to catch it live, you can watch afterwards. Thanks so much. Talk soon.